thou didst hide thy face, and I was troubled. After he was in his prosperity so strong, now because of that, David experiences the Lord hiding his face. Basically, what happens here is, as soon as you believe that you've got it all together and you don't need God anymore, God says, okay, fine. And God removes himself and hides his face from you. So you don't need me, right? You've been doing this all on your own, right? You don't know what I've been holding up and keeping together. So I'll tell you what, I'll take my hands off everything and move out the way. Seems like you got this, bro. And God moves and hides his face. And now that mountain that David thought he had a grip of becomes too hard for him to move. Now God takes himself out of it and he says, now this mountain has become so strong. This mountain that he's trying to move, and this God has made my mountain to stand strong. And thou hidst thy face. So now the mountain is so strong and it's too hard for him now. Now that he thought he had it on his own, God moves out the way. Now the mountain is, whoa, wait a minute, what this thing done got heavy now. What? No, you thought you had it, right? You got it, right? So I'm going to hide my face. And now that the mountain is too hard, now you're looking for him to help you, but he's hidden his face.
Come on, sir.
You know, we don't call on him, but when we need him, I got this, everything's under control, I got, and when God says, oh, you sure you got it? All right, bro, now move out the way. Now, oh, whoa, God, I need your help. What? No, bro, you said you got this. You've been handling this all on your own, you said. In your prosperity, you shall not be moved. Look like you're moving now. You're shaking and trembling now. Don't look for me now. God moves out the way when our pride gets up here. Because all along, he's in the background carrying us through, pushing us through. I mean, he's helping us, holding us, lightening the burden. He's in our everyday activity, our everyday life. But David gets to the place where he forgets all about him. In my prosperity, I did all of this. I got all of this. I got all this land. In my prosperity, I shall not be moved. I'm going to sit on this throne. Ain't nothing going to happen because I got everything under control. And when he hits this place, God says, fine, I removed myself. And now this mountain, he says, stand strong. And thou didst hide thy face. And now he says, I was troubled. I was troubled. It's when God removes himself that you really find out who was really doing everything. And when he takes himself out of it, now you find yourself in trouble. There was no trouble when you was going on and doing everything yourself, so you thought. So God says, well, so you got everything, you don't need me, right? Right, I got this, God. Okay, well, I'm just going to remove myself, and you don't know what I was holding. Now the mountain is strong, and now you're in trouble. Looking for God, where you at? God, I need your help. No, you got this. So in verse 8 through 10, he begins to plead unto the Lord. I cried unto thee, O Lord, and unto the Lord I made supplication, meaning I prayed earnestly about this one thing. What profit is there? Listen to him talking to God. What profit is there in my blood when I go down to the pit? Shall the dust praise thee, O Lord? Shall it declare thy truth? Hear me, O Lord. Listen, O God, and have mercy upon me, Lord, and be my helper. He says, look here, Lord, I mean, what good is it if I die? My blood won't be able to praise you. The dust won't be able to praise you. It's better that I stay alive, because if I'm alive, I can praise you. I'll give you glory. So God, be my help. Help me now, oh Lord. But he found himself in this predicament because he was in his prosperity. He said he would not be moved. So he cries out, and we find in verse 11 that God's compassion never fails. In verse 11, it says, thou hast turned for me. This is turning again. This is not replacing. Look at it. Thou hast turned for me my mourning into dancing. Thou hast put off my sackcloth and girded me with gladness. Look at 11. Thou hast turned for me my mourning into dancing. Thou hast put off my sackcloth and girded me with gladness. One reason that the Lord permits our trials is that we might not get comfortable in our faith and stop growing. The other reason is he wakes us up and draws us back to depending on him. As soon as you think you don't need God anymore, then he will just step back. Then he can allow things to happen, because I'm not going to protect you. You want to be on your own. You're grown. You don't need me. So he withdraws, and then we see the trials that come. And we, oh Lord, why thou hast forsaken me. I didn't leave you, you left me. And he allows it to happen because it's finally in that state that you wake up and get sense to go back to him. So he allows it to draw you back. Some of us look at it like, oh, it's punishment. Why did he do that? Why? It actually works for your good. You tell your kids that all the time. We're his children, the sheep of his pasture. So he does this to draw us back. And does it draw David back? Yes, it does. How do you know that? Listen to what he says in verse 11. Thou hast turned for me my mourning into dancing. What's different about that? What's different about 11 and verse 6 where he got into the trouble? In verse 6, and in my prosperity I said I shall never be moved. In verse 11, thou hast turned my mourning into dancing. We see at this point, if you read the Psalms, you'll find 7 times in the Psalm David wrote, thou hast. The reason he got into this predicament was because my prosperity. But when it was all over, he was saying, thou hast, thou hast, thou hast. He said it 7 times in the song. Look at verse 1, and then we'll be done. I will exalt thee, O Lord, for thou hast lifted me up, and hast made my foes, hast not made my foes to rejoice over me. Verse 2, O Lord my God, I cried unto thee, and thou hast healed me. Verse 3, O Lord, thou hast brought me up, my soul from my grave. Thou hast kept me alive, and I shall not go down to the pit. Verse 7, Lord, by thy favor thou hast made my mountain to stand. And verse 11, thou hast turned for me my mourning into dancing. Thou hast put on my sackcloth and girded me with gladness. God allowed him to go through this area to bring him back to the place to where he was depending upon him. Now that he's gone through, he recognizes everything that God does. Before, it was what he did. It was what I did. I did this. I did that. I did that. But now thou hast. Because of my situation and what he allowed me to go through, now I see it wasn't me. It was him all along. Now I see every step of the way he did that. He did that. He was doing this. He was in the background. God's compassion never fails. So after the moment of chastising, God gives him a lifetime of favor. And now he's dancing and he's recognizing and bearing witness that this has come because thou hast. Not me, not my prosperity. Thou hast. When we go through our trials or our storms, we will not come out of our storms until we realize thou hast. He was in it till his language changed. He was no longer talking about my prosperity and I, but now his language and focus has changed to thou hast delivered me. Thou hast done this. Thou hast set me free. It's because of thou that I was able to do this. And when his language changed, this morning has come. And once David knew he was forgiven and accepted, he moves from the funeral to the feast. Once he realized that God has forgiven him and that he has been forgiven and accepted, he moves from the funeral to the feast. He took off the sack clothes. He took off the sadness. The sack clothes, or the sackcloth was a symbol of mourning and to be sad. It was rags and it just showed that you were in mourning. When you saw someone in the Bible days that were in sackcloth, they were in a state of mourning. So he was in a down spirit. And it says now that he's taken off his sackclothes and he's put on a garment of gladness. In the scriptures, when there's a change, they would change their clothing. When there's a change, they would change their clothing. When there's from down to up, put on the garment of praise, put on the garment of gladness, get out of the down clothes and put on the upbeat clothes. There was a change. And look at verse 12. To the end that my glory may sing praises unto thee, and not be silent, O Lord my God, I will give thanks unto thee forever. He says, I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever, basically. He said that in another song, but that's what he says. He's saying, I will dwell now in the house of the Lord forever. I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. You might not understand why I can't miss a Sunday, why the rain won't stop me from coming, because you might not understand how I can go to multiple services and do 2 and 3 services all in one day, and some people, one service is just enough. I don't know why they can go to church all day. You don't understand it. Maybe it's too much for you, but like David said, he's done so much for me. You don't understand that I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. You don't know where he brought me from. You don't know where I used to be. You don't know where he's taken me. Because of where I come from, I'm going to dwell in the house of the Lord forever. You can do what you want to do. It's your party. You can do what you want. But this is my prerogative. I have a personal thing, and he's done something for me and given me a second chance. And my gratitude is that I will be in the house forever because of what he's done for me. Because of what he's done for me. He didn't have to have compassion for me. He could have left me in my success. My